Let's say you're in the market to buy a property, and when you begin your search, the prices are insane. I'll explain all you need to know about how mortgages work in Canada, US, Europe, and Australia, how it'll affect you and everyone you know. Some mortgages are simple. They offer up to 30-year fixed rates, so you have the same payment for 30 years. Others offer 1 to 10-year rates, which need to be refinanced when the mortgage term comes to an end. Let's imagine you buy your dream home for 750 grand with a down payment of 20% or 150 grand. That means you're left with a 600k mortgage. There are 3 numbers here that you need to pay attention to. The mortgage amount, which stays the same, the interest rate, which increases by 1%, and the monthly payments. At 3%, your monthly payment is $2,709. At 4% is $3,038, an increase of $329. This example goes up to 8%. At 8% is $4,533, an increase of $396 from the month prior. A 5% hike means your monthly payment has increased by 67%, or $1,824 each month. In other words, an extra 22 grand a year. Now, let's flip the picture and say you want to buy a house, and you can only afford $2,009 each month. At 3%, your loan is $600,000. At 4%, it's $534,000, a reduction of $66,000. And this example goes up to 8%. At 8%, it's $356,000, a reduction of $34,000 compared to the loan offered at 7%. A 5% hike would mean that you lose out on $243,000 of borrowing power to bid on a home. You're smart. I'm sure you figured it out by now. Since you own the home, you just found out after the hike you can't afford to refinance. Now you have to sell. The problem is no one can borrow as much as you did, so you have to sell at a loss. But wait, in some places there's a surprise waiting for you. You still owe the difference. In some places, if they sell the house for $500,000 and your mortgage was $600,000, the lender will still hold you responsible to cover that remaining $100K. Each country's state, territory, or province will vary, so you'd have to look up your own place to find out if it applies to you. You're probably wondering by now, well, how do I determine where the rates are going to go? For me to explain that, I'll need to talk about a topic you've all probably heard about by now: inflation. In order to understand inflation, I need to explain it using 3 entities: the central bank, which is only one per country, businesses and regular banks, and the everyday people. Let's say it's year 2000, and the economy produces 100 items that people want to buy, and there's currently 1,000 banknotes in circulation to buy those goods. In 2001, war breaks out, and the central bank needs to buy stuff for the military. To do so, it prints 2,000 banknotes that year. However, production remained only at producing 100 things. Now you have 200 goods in total, but 3,000 notes in circulation to buy those 200 things. That's inflation. Why did it take so long for inflation to take effect? Well, I'll need to talk about the velocity of money to explain that. When the central bank prints money, it isn't immediately felt in the economy because it has a process before it makes it to the hands of the people. The series of action goes: lower interest rates, so a person wanting to buy a house is like, I can afford to bid this much now. The buyer's monthly income hasn't changed, but because interest rates have gone down, the banks now deem them creditworthy for more. Over the course of interest rates dropping several percent, existing homeowners wanted to use their home as a piggy bank. They would take out a home equity line of credit, which is essentially a type of mortgage, to buy new cars, pay for renovations, and vacations. As people buy more goods and services, it results in businesses making record profits, which leads to record stock prices. As you've probably seen firsthand, it's a process which takes years to play out. If you notice, only the central bank can print money. Now, why is inflation bad? Income never keeps up with inflation. To understand what I mean, we can look into recent history.
The classic examples, of course, are the extreme examples of Germany, of Austria, of Russia, after the First World War, when inflation reached levels at which employers would pay their workers 3 times a day after breakfast, lunch, and dinner so they could go out and spend the money before it lost all its value. That's the real extreme cases.
I'd like to help you visualize his statement with a graph. I won't be using real tax rates for simplicity's sake. Imagine your tax bracket goes up by 10% every $10,000. Every time you get a raise, you're taxed more on it. Not only that, whenever you buy something that's experiencing inflation, you're paying more in taxes for that as well. Let's walk through time and see how history played out. From 95 to 2000, the dot-com bubble was at its zenith, which led to rising inflation. In 2002, stocks fell by 78% from the peak, and inflation decreased due to lack of liquidity. Because of inflation going down, the central bank helped stimulate the economy by lowering interest rates. In 2004 to 06, regular banks offered 2 and 28 mortgages, which are teaser rates for 2 years that had an interest rate 4% lower than the following 28 years. During the 2 years of teaser rates, home equity line of credits were abundant because of rising house prices, which caused inflation. The central bank thought inflation was becoming a problem again, so they raised interest rates. After 2 years, the teaser rates expired and real rates kicked in. The mortgage monthly payments rose by 50% and the market crashed. Central bank has kept interest rates near zero since that time in an effort to stimulate the economy. Why was there such a dramatic rise in inflation during the last 2 years? One reason is the central bank paid people not to work. And if you recall, less things plus more notes is inflation.
So I want to unpack what we've done over the last couple of years. The vast majority of the money that went out to folks was in enhanced unemployment benefits. And those benefits were tied to not working. I've always thought that's a terrible way to go. You don't want ever to tie funds to someone not working. If anything, you'd want to somehow tie incentives to work into it instead of having a very powerful disincentive.
Another reason is war. The central bank funds the military and doesn't produce anything, but rather the opposite, printing money to destroy things. Here's a picture of historical interest rates so you can see where it's been before. I hope you enjoyed my first video. If you like the content, please like and subscribe.